How many strokes are you getting from him to play, all right? I mean, he takes you down. Who you got, Woody or Charlie Wood?
You're like son.
Give him Charlie, man. Give him Charlie. With a red shirt, no less. The final day.
The Raiders' defense in a free fall. Are their playoff hopes going with? Football Outsiders and 538 gives their playoff chances at 15% right now. A new defensive coordinator on a short week tonight versus the Chargers. Bill Plaschke around the horn to you. What position are the Raiders in going into tonight?
That's a 15% more chance than I'd give them. They're done. Put a fork in them. They're finished. They average giving up 30 points a game defensively. No team's ever made the playoffs giving up that much. Derek Carr, 8 turnovers in his last 4 games, and they're 1-3 in those games, and one win was against the Jets. And they're playing a Charger team that Justin Herbert had his first game-winning drive the last game. Drove the team 49 yards for a game-winning field goal. The Chargers don't like the Raiders. They'd love to finish their season off. It will happen tonight. I gave you the Rams last week. I'm giving you the Chargers today.
All right. Do we need to go to the rest of the panel? Is that it? I mean, has it been decided? Woody Page, come on, join us. Chargers, Raiders tonight. Yeah. Raiders defensively are a mess, but they're only 1 game back, and they play Miami next week. That could be an elimination game should they win. Go ahead.
Let me help Bill earn some more points. They've given up 150 in their last 4 games. In their last 36 possessions, they've had 11 turnovers. It's a team that just brought in a defensive coordinator who was terrible as a defensive coordinator with the Cowboys. He had 1 good year in Dallas. So I don't know how in the world they could beat the Chargers when Herbert's trying to come back. He's going to be the offensive rookie of the year. This will be his shining moment. He goes out and scores 40, which is quite possible against the Raiders, and he's going to get that by acclamation. So I'm with Bill here that they're finished. They got to play the Dolphins. They got to come to Denver for their final game. You know, Denver is playing better. They have a chance to lose 3 games at the end of the
All right, we'll give a mute there right now. Kevin Blackistone join us.
Wow, the Dolphins in Denver. Woo! That's a tough schedule. Look, this is 1 game for the season for the Raiders, and it's not like they're going up against the greatest show on turf in the Chargers. I mean, I looked at their last couple of outings. I think they're averaging 10 points for their last 2 games with that donut in that they had against the Patriots. So look, they're going to win by offense, and I'm saying they're going to do that. Derek Carr's had a solid year. He's got Aguilar, he's got Renfro, he's got Waller, who's a fantastic tight end. They can put up points. They're going to have to put up points, and I think they'll be able to do that. This is their 1 chance, and yeah, you know what? They knew their problem was defense. They fired the defensive coordinator. They're missing a bunch of guys on defense, but this is 1 game, and I think that they can beat the Chargers.
Short week, new defensive coordinator, missing a quarter of the defensive roster.
The heck? That's the whole season.
Jackie Mack and you.
It was really hard to tell which side KB was really arguing for.
By the end of it, yeah.
Yeah, they have 4 defensive starters out, and they have a new defensive coordinator, and that's why I think it's going the wrong way for them. And this is it's not like it's just the last few weeks here. It's been a trend for them, Tony. I think they're almost dead last over the last 3 seasons in terms of causing turnovers. They don't rush the quarterback effectively. They've given up back-to-back 200-yard games, rushing games on the ground. And more importantly, okay, you can survive all that if your offense is humming along, but they're not, as Bill pointed out regarding Derek Carr. So I just don't see the silver lining for the Raiders anywhere. I don't see
Plaschke, you want to finish this off here? Go ahead.
And then don't forget Josh Jacobs is hobbled. They rode him early in the season.
Yeah.
He's not the same.
Don't ask him if he's playing or not, though, if you're a fantasy owner, because he's not going to give you the truth. That's what we learned from Mr. Jacobs this week. Okay, so Kevin's got the Raiders. No one else thinks there's a chance. The Chargers, the greatest team, who lost 45-0 about 2 weeks ago. The greatest team ever. Go have fun. Watch the Chargers special teams this evening. We'll see how that goes for you. We'll move on. New Orleans, Kansas City. That game is Sunday. And Sean Payton on whether Drew Brees could make his return. Roll tape.
We haven't ruled anything just because we don't have to. You know, he's got a ways to go still, and he's going to be someone that we're not going to hurry back and just put him in the game. I think that the significance of the injuries are such that you got to make sure he can function and feel confident.
Jackie McMullen, I'm going to ask you how you hear Sean Payton there. I don't think anyone is suggesting hurry Drew Brees back, but the idea to play this week versus Kansas City, and the 1 seed is on the line. They're now trailing Green Bay. How important is it for this team to get the 1 seed?
Well, I think it is important, but I would not play Drew Brees this week. And I don't really understand what Sean Payton was saying there. On the one hand, he was saying, oh, he's doing better, he's off the injured list. But then he said he has a ways to go.
Yeah.
Well, it's Thursday. I mean, in 4 more days, are all those 11 cracked ribs going to heal right up in time for him to play? Come on now. So that makes no sense to me. If I'm them, I'm sitting Brees. I'm going to take my chances against KC and probably don't like my chances. But then if I have a healthy Drew Brees in the playoffs, I still believe you're a team that can beat people, even on the road when you don't have fans in most of these home stadiums anyhow.
Kevin Blackstone?
Be conservative. Protect them.
Yeah, I think you have to be conservative here. And then that video that you showed of Brees out there with no ball going like this, I don't know what that was. That doesn't look
Doesn't
really
seem like
good.
you're close when that happens.
Yeah, but you know what? You know, they can look at Taysom Hill and what he did last week, threw for 2 touchdowns, over 300 yards. That's what you've got to hope for. And is that number 1 seed important? It's important because in this COVID football season that we're in, you want that 1 week because you never know who's going to be on that COVID list. That's the critical thing.
Woody Page.
That's why, Kevin, that when you don't have 2 teams that are going to get a bye that first week, you really put more emphasis on that number 1 seed. I think he's a trooper. He's proven to be a trooper. I think you do run him back out there, Jackie. I think if he can play it all, and he's one Nerf ball throw away from being able to play.
Yeah, we saw that.
I think you bring him out there. If they can get him out on the field and at least see how he plays, they know they could go to Hill if he's not good in the first quarter and he's not as acceptable as he's been in the past throughout his career. So if I'm Peyton, because you just said, well, you're not giving them much of a chance. He gives them much of a chance to be the number 1 seed. So I think you try to play him. If he says, I'm ready to go.
So you think it should be Drew Brees' decision? Is that what you're saying? If Brees gets cleared by the doctors and he says, I'm comfortable playing, Peyton should. I see a lot of heads shaking. No, Plashke, you want to weigh in here?
No, my head's shaking. Yes, I agree with Woody. You can't overstate the importance of the number 1 seed. It's a week off. It's a week off for a veteran team and a week off for Drew Brees. I think you put Drew Brees out there, and if the game gets out of hand, you get him out of there. But you give him a shot because I don't think Hill can get this thing done. KB saying what a great game he had last week. He had 2 turnovers and 5 sacks, both of them career highs for him. I don't think he can win this game for the Saints. I think Brees can. I think the Saints have to win this game, so I think they at least have to give Brees a shot. Put him out there and try it.
Jackie, you're shaking your head no. I'm picking up what you're putting down here. You think this is ludicrous, what Woody and Bill are suggesting.
But you do understand the logic, Bill and Woody, that you were presenting out here saying, well, if it doesn't go well for Brees, then pull him out. If it doesn't go well for Brees, guys, it's because they're going to throw everybody at him. They're going to go at him. They're going to hit him. And then he's going to be back to square 1 or maybe -1 or maybe -40. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, so you look at the schedule. They're up against Green Bay here. And it's not just the home fans that Green Bay is going to have. It's the weather, too, Jackie. The home fans Green Bay is not going to have.
Jackie.
I don't disagree.
It's the weather
I
as
don't
well
disagree.
that New Orleans, a dome team, is going to have to travel up. Should they play New Orleans in that
I
1
understand
season?
all that.
But New Orleans has Tennessee on schedule. I have that right. I'm sorry. Green Bay has Tennessee on schedule coming forward. So there's a game there that New Orleans could feel comfortable.
Right.
Maybe we have a shot at this. But Blackstone, I'll give you the last word.
No, I just don't. I just think that the reason you have Drew Brees is to win the Super Bowl. You don't have him for this 1 game. You're in the playoffs. You would like to use him because of his offensive explosiveness, but it's not worth it.
We'll have that be the last.
I don't know if they did this. If they win this.
Oh, what do you want? You want a last word? Please go ahead. All right, I apologize.
Yeah, they're hoping to play the Chiefs again at the end of the season. That makes this more critical. And yes, if he doesn't play well, you can rest him the last 2 weeks because you'll still be in the playoffs. So what difference does it make? Put him out.
Blackstone 17, McMullen 15, Plashke 10, Page 9. Taking a break here. Buyers
down together, Woody.
Not 9, not 10, but 11 broken ribs, people.
Around the Horn is presented by Bullet Bourbon Frontier Whiskey, highly awarded high rye whiskey. Enjoy responsibly. Part of Happy Hour.
Dipping back into the NFL's week ahead, Steelers at Bengals is the Monday night game. What it will take for Pittsburgh to break their schneid. One thing that won't change, Juju Smith-Schuster says he'll still dance on the logo, even though it appears to fire up other teams. So, Bill, buy or sell that strategy?
You know, I love the creativity, but I'm selling it when your receiving core has 33 drops this year, the most in the NFL, when your offense is in free fall, and when your organization has already been plagued by social media with Antonio Brown. Bad idea. Tomlin's got to call him in ahead and stop it.
Okay, the Antonio Brown social media, that's now well in the rearview mirror. The drops are not. Woody Page, buy or sell Juju Smith-Schuster here?
I'm selling it. You want to dance on the logo? The last two teams you played have danced on your faces. I don't think that this makes any sense whatsoever. I don't think Tomlin's going to say to him, stop doing it. He lets the players play on and off the field, but I think it's a mistake. If you want to do it at the end of the season after you win the division, do it then.
Kevin Blackstone?
It's 2020. He wants to dance and be on TikTok. Who cares what he does on a logo? I don't think other teams are getting fired up. I don't think that's why Pittsburgh has lost their last two games, is because Juju is dancing on a logo.
The teams have said they are. The team was 11-0 while he was dancing on a logo. Now they're 0-2 while he's dancing on a logo. Both apply. Jackie Mack, how do you see it?
Yeah, therefore they're 11-2 while he dances on the logo. And I do understand a little bit what KB is saying. It is, you don't want to take it too seriously, but I've always said if you want to do this kind of thing, you got to back it up. And here's the problem. Juju's career average this year, yards reception, 8.3 yards of reception, career low, Tony. Yeah. Do it a year when you're going to the Pro Bowl. It'd be so much more fun that way.
I mean, all their numbers they're throwing so many passes at the line of scrimmage, before the line of scrimmage. That's their offense this year.
Right.
Or lack thereof. Buy or sell too. Major League Baseball. The announcement to correct what they called a long-time oversight and elevate the Negro Leagues, all their statistics and records, through 1948, praised by many, acknowledged by all how overdue, our Clinton Yates for the undefeated, this was a great read, saw it a different way. Quote, the most ridiculous piece of soft supremacy we've ever seen. This announcement says, be grateful. We now view you as whole. Newsflash, that's the problem, not the solution. Black baseball is not less than and never will be. Kevin Blackstone, how do you consider MLB elevating the Negro Leagues? How do you consider Clinton's point there?
Well, I think guys like Buck O'Neil, Bob Kendrick, who've been working for the Negro Leagues Museum forever, would be very proud this day. Obviously, Bob Kendrick is, and Buck O'Neil would be too. And a lot of people who have championed the Negro Leagues over the years. So, it's a step in the right direction, and I think it was important to hear from the historian of baseball finally acknowledging what baseball really never has, that it was their racism, their segregating the leagues, which caused this whole situation for Negro League baseball in the first place. But they still have further to go. And one thing I would still urge them to do is they need to correct Cap Anson's plaque in the Hall of Fame and indicate on it that he was a major reason for a color line being drawn in this sport.
Is that right? That's a history lesson I wasn't aware of. Does any part of you, like Clinton wrote, say that baseball is being supremacist here and that they didn't acknowledge it for so long, and now and almost magnanimously saying, we'll welcome you in now?
Sure. Baseball has whitewashed its history, done a marvelous job of whitewashing its 60-year history of segregation in sport and the impact that has had on American society. Remember, a segregated sport, and we elevated it to call it something as pristine as America's pastime. So it still has a lot of reckoning to do.
Jackie McMullen, how did you see it?
Well, I commend Clinton because it is a really beautifully written piece, very well done and very heartfelt. And he's right. You don't get to change this and then pat yourselves on the back and give yourselves flowers for doing something you should have done a long time ago. And I think that's really what Clinton most is upset by. And I'm not sure this is the end of the story either. We were talking off camera. Hank Aaron hit 9 home runs in 1954 in the Negro Leagues. They don't count because they decided in 1948, this is where we'll start all these numbers. Well, why should that be? If Hank Aaron hit 9 home runs in the Negro Leagues, they should count, because isn't that what you're saying now? So we got a long way to go before we got this all straightened out.
Yeah, this is a nice gesture, but it feels like a very empty gesture when there's only 2 black managers in baseball. There's only 1 black president of baseball operations in baseball. Baseball still is very racist. There's racism runs through it. Only 8% of the people on the opening day roster were black Americans last year. And, baseball tries to be inclusive, but I'd like to see some more black third base coaches, black utility players, people from where managers come from. That's what needs to happen in baseball, and they're not doing it. They're not elevating the people of power.
And Woody Page.
So again, it's a nice gesture, but an empty one.
I agree with all three other panelists. As someone who actually watched the Negro Leagues in the early 50s, why doesn't that count? What does that not mean? I saw Charlie Pride. I saw Willie Mays play. My dad took me to games, and what was funny about that is that the people of color at those games couldn't sit in the same areas as the people who were white, like me and my father. So it's a small step, but there are giant steps that remain to be taken. And if they don't continue to actually get more black Americans involved in playing the game, in being executives in the game, and managing the game, this means nothing really.
There are some wonderful stories that are now going to be told, though. And then Willie Mays added hits. Satchel Paige added 150 wins. The first professional baseball player. There was a woman in the Negro Leagues. There were multiple. There were three, but I believe Mamie Peanut Johnson becomes the first woman to have played professional baseball in the major leagues now, since we're bringing in the Negro Leagues. So many great stories to tell. We'll move on. Buy or sell three. Could Notre Dame jump from independent to ACC long-term? Andrea Adelson for ESPN Today. Seeing how it all played out for Notre Dame this year, Jackie, buy or sell?
I think they should really consider the ACC. I know they have their real cushy, financial agreement with the network that they get paid their $15 million. But I think it's a lot to ask if you're an independent. You almost have to run the table for you to even have a chance. But if you're in the ACC, you win that championship game, you win that title game, you're playing really great teams like Clemson. Why, if you're Notre Dame, you wouldn't want to do that?
Bill Plaschke.
Yeah, Jackie, but college football is no longer just about wins and losses. It's about the money. It's about the brand. They would lose that money. They would lose their brand. They've got to stay independent. I think they'll sacrifice that because of their brand. They'll sacrifice a chance for a national championship in order to pocket that $15 million and be on TV every week.
Woody Page.
Yes, there are reasons for joining, Jackie, the ACC, but being an independent gives them more prestige, more of a tradition where they can play Southern Cal every year. They can play Army and Navy. And the other aspect is you talked about the money. That's $15 million a year. That's more than they can get from the ACC or even the SEC. So I think it makes more sense for them to go back to being an independent and forging ahead in that direction.
Kevin Blackistone.
Well, I'll just throw this wrench in there. The ACC just poached the athletic director from Northwestern, Jim Phillips, to run their conference. And he has some history with Notre Dame, and I wouldn't be surprised if that was part of some of the talks that went on behind closed doors to get Notre Dame into that fold.
We'll have that be the last word. I do have a correction
They haven't won a
already.
national championship in 32 years.
That's true, Jackie.
Get it, man.
One correction already. I brought up Mamie Peanut Johnson, and some of the other names are Tony Stone, and then some other ladies who played, 3 in total. Connie Morgan. They all played in the Negro Leagues in the 50s, which is after that 1948 cutoff that Jackie was talking
that
about.
wouldn't count either.
So they actually do not count
That's crazy.
as major leaguers,
Come on,
but they
man.
still played
Doesn't make sense.
professional
That doesn't make
baseball.
sense.
Page, Plaschke done. Blackistone, McMullen showdown in 2 minutes.
Bullet Bourbon Frontier Whiskey. Highly awarded high rye whiskey. Enjoy responsibly. Part of Happy Hour.
Jackie McMullen, Kevin Blackistone, good looking showdown.
I just want to have kids, being able to raise my kids and win a championship. After that, my life's complete, man. I can retire after 5 years. No, I'm joking.
First comes love, then comes the Supermax, but what comes first? Kids or the championship, Kevin Blackistone?
Well, it's definitely going to be the kids, but I just want to remind Giannis, he's not the one actually having them. That'll be his partner. That's the work, that's the labor, that's the effort, but definitely the kids before the championship.
Well, and as we know, Giannis and his girlfriend already do have a little son named Liam. But you know what? She's probably tired. She's like, let's let him grow a little. There's a little window there for the Bucks to get that championship in first before the next.
A bit of advice. I think I told Sammy I wanted to have 7 kids when we met. Don't say things like that in advance of Split the point. We'll move on. Speaking of kids, this video is awesome. Tiger and his 11-year-old son Charlie on the range. I mean, it's a mirror image. The PNC Championship, they're both playing in this exhibition. Knowing the genes and looking at that swing, Jackie.
Wow.
What are the odds Charlie's on tour?
He's already shot under par for 9 holes as an 11-year-old. Are you kidding me? What I love about this is Tiger's so protective of his kids, and yet he let him play. He knows he's ready. It's a beautiful, beautiful.
Wow, talk about like father, like son. He even puts it back in the holster at the same time Dad does it. Of course he'll be on the tour. He'll probably be winning the thing before we all know it.
Francesca and Enzo and I practice the paper toss at home, and I know Mia's right next to Dad, typing on the computer, wearing the elbow patches. Like father, like daughter. 30 seconds of FaceTime.
Let's just say this about the Major League Baseball and what they just did with the Negro Leagues. Great story, but one thing they'll never be able to replicate are the stories that Negro Leaguers told. Fastest guy in the Negro League is a guy by the name of Cool Papa Bell. Could get in the bed and have the covers over him before the light went out. How did that happen? Because he's staying in a flea bag motel like they always had to do, and he realized there was a short in the wall, so he started betting guys coming into his room, hey, I can get into bed before the light goes out. Boom!